Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? This is Colin, back at it again with episode 11 of A New Direction, the podcast where I talk about all sorts of different things and topics and just kind of give my opinions on stuff. Today we have another standard episode with 4 different topics of discussion, but like usual, before we get into that, we've got the music recommendation for the episode. Today we are going for Renegades by Rage Against the Machine, which is just a fantastic album in my opinion, incredibly heavy. Just an incredibly good representation of the Rage Against the Machine sound. Standout tracks for me are Renegades of Funk and The Ghost of Tom Joad, both of which I think are fantastic tracks that are very catchy and memorable. The Ghost of Tom Joad especially is just one of the heaviest songs I've ever heard in general, and so I can safely say that this is a favorite album of mine just in general, one that I can kind of listen to at any point and be happy with. I don't have to really be in a mood to listen to it, but yeah, my mom introduced me to this album many, many years ago, and ever since then, Rage Against the Machine has kind of been a band that I've known about and listened to, but hasn't been hugely on my radar. But this album is definitely very good, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who is interested in a heavier sort of, Rage Against the Machine sound. If you don't really know what that is, it's kind of rap, like rap metal, but it's not terrible. It's not like new metal. It's like actually talented and well produced and sounds good. I would highly recommend giving it a go if you're into rap, because it's kind of like a really good crossover. They did a really good job kind of combining the two genres, and that's really what they're known for. So all of their albums are kind of that same style, so you can't really go wrong with any of their discography. But yeah, that would be the music recommendation for the episode. So diving right in, the first topic of today is the fact that today is the first day of November, and that's just kind of crazy to me how quickly this year has just flown by and how much has happened in the span of these 11 months of 2021. And I think it's kind of convenient. Episode 11, that's the 11th month, and it's November, it's first day and everything. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, with that being said, I mean, I think that especially as I've gotten older, the time definitely seems to go by like much, much, much quicker. Even like I've noticed it in the past like 2 or 3 years, just how quickly the years seem to fly by. Because I remember when I was in elementary school in like the first and second grade, thinking about how long each one of those grade levels lasted, like just how long that school year was. Which the school year is only what, 9 months. So what do they say? It's like 180 days of school or something like that. But just to look back and think about how quickly like that went by in hindsight, but like in the moment it was just so long and agonizingly slow. And just I remember being in like the first few grades of elementary school, kindergarten, first, second, third grade, and just thinking about how long it felt like I was there, like how many like it felt like years were passing while I was in these grade levels. And as I've gotten older, getting into middle school, like the school years were still pretty long, but like they would go by quicker. And being that they were divided into like semesters, it definitely kind of played a role on how quickly it went by, because I was able to kind of better gauge where I was at in the school year, whether it was first semester or second semester classes. But it wasn't really until high school that I noticed how quickly the time flies by. And, going into my freshman year was pretty fast. But I really noticed it the most through sophomore, junior, and senior year. All of those just flew by. And especially junior and senior year with COVID and everything that, came in halfway. I was a junior. It was halfway pretty much through my junior year when the COVID outbreak really happened. And so going into my senior year, which, was entirely affected by COVID, it's just very quick, and I don't even know, it just feels like it just flew by, like it almost didn't even happen. And it's crazy to me because like how our experiences in life and our age play a role like in our perception of the passage of time and everything. I just think that's really cool. And I've talked to my parents and my grandparents and friends and stuff who are older than me, and in some cases, considerably older than me, and they all say the same thing. They say like the older you get, it's like you just blink and you wake up and you're like 30 years old. And to me, being only 18, it's kind of a scary thought that the years between now and 30, the next 12 years are just gonna fly by. I definitely want to make sure I experience them and have some sort of semblance of memories from, my 20s, since your 20s are supposed to be like fun and you're supposed to party and do all the cool stuff. But honestly, I can't really say if I foresee myself doing it like that. But, I would definitely like to at least have some memories and things to look back on when I'm older of my 20s and just kind of have some fond memories. So hopefully it won't go by too fast. I definitely want to make sure I live in the moment. And I think that's kind of cool, like with this podcast, how I get to kind of document my state of being, my time of life at different times. And I know it's still pretty early on in the episodes of the podcast, but being on 11 is definitely, even getting into double digits and having been consistent with it is definitely a big milestone for me. Because for any of y'all who followed me originally way back when I first started YouTube back in, like, I think I first started uploading consistently, like more than one video, like in 2015, like the start of 2015. So we're talking like a long time ago, like coming up on 7 years ago. So I would have been like 12, I think. I would have been like, maybe not even, but I was about 12 years old when I started uploading. And my original videos were all like gaming content and everything. And I would upload just for the fun of it, but I was never consistent with it. And then the skin showcase content that's currently on my channel was made kind of back in that same era, and I kept that up because of how well I did. But other than that, I never really found a lot of success with YouTube, and I think a lot of that did have to do with the fact that I wasn't very consistent, and I was a kid. So the quality of my content certainly wasn't the greatest. It could have been a lot better, but I've definitely learned a lot from the experience of doing YouTube back then, and just kind of, even now, like the lessons I've learned with commentating and being a better speaker in front of the microphone is definitely something that I carry forward into the modern era. And so there again, the passage of time, how quick that the time goes by. Because I remember recording those episodes, like the first episode of, it was like a Gary's Mod video that I made with my friend Matt that I posted. And I like remember recording that. Like I was just like, I'm gonna record a YouTube video, because I hadn't uploaded anything in a long time. Like the very first video on my channel was a review for a Desert Eagle airsoft gun that I had gotten that year for Christmas, and I was literally like 10 years old when I made it. And I didn't upload anything for a little while after that, but I had gotten a computer and had Gary's Mod, so I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna record a video. And so I kind of did the gaming content like that for a little while, and that's kind of what sparked it. So it's just kind of cool to see the way that time kind of has an impact on you. And so I'm definitely curious to kind of see what the future is going to have in store, and the lessons I'm going to take from recording even this episode of the podcast, and the different, lessons I'll learn from the content that I'm making right now going forward. It's definitely cool that I'm able to document it like this. But yeah, that was just kind of the first topic, talking about the fact that it's already November and the year's flying by, and just in general how quickly time goes. But that transitions us into the next topic, which is kind of broad. It's my favorite vacation memories. And I haven't been on vacation in a long time. I haven't been on an actual vacation like with my family in like 5 years now. I think it's been a pretty long time, because we would normally go to like the beach. We would go to Florida for the beach. We go like Longboat Key, and it's been about 5 years ago since we did that last, or maybe we might have gone to Disney World last time even. But that's something I'll kind of talk about here in this segment. But it's been a little while since I've been on like a vacation with my family. But one that I remember was the first time I ever flew on an airplane, which I think is a pretty cool story. This was back in 2017, and I don't really consider this necessarily a vacation, because it was more like we were obligated to go. and so we were going more for a purpose rather than for like a vacation. But a member of my family was getting married, and so we went to go attend the wedding, and live in Minnesota, and so we had to fly out there. Obviously, we weren't going to drive that considerable distance, thousands of miles, just to go for this wedding and then have to drive back. So we obviously flew. And it was the first time I'd ever been on an airplane. And I was a little bit nervous. Like, I was more nervous really than I was letting on. But I didn't really want people to know that. I wanted to, to look like I was a strong, 14-year-old. I was getting on this plane and going to do it with no fear. And I distinctly remember, like, we were waiting at the gate, getting ready to board the plane. And, they scanned our boarding passes and everything. And we walked down the bridge, like the air bridge or whatever. And I remember stepping through the door to enter the plane. And I saw just how narrow this airplane was, because being that this wasn't like a super long flight, we were taking like a smaller plane. I think it was like I don't even remember. It was like a 717, I think, a Boeing 717. It was a triple engine, two on the wings and one on the tail. And so a smaller plane, definitely not as big as something like an Airbus, like an A320, A330, anything like that. But we got on the plane, and I remember seeing how narrow it was, and I just instantly felt just a terror grip me that I was not expecting at all. I was so nervous after I saw just how narrow that plane was and what we were going to be flying, thousands of miles in. And it was definitely sort of a wake-up call, because I thought I was just going to be able to go in and handle this, willy-nilly and not have any sort of issues. And instead I got to get an incredible amount of anxiety as I looked down the fuselage of this airplane. And so we went and we sat down, and it took a little while for us to take off, and I'm sure anybody who's flown or has any experience with airports knows that they are very chaotic and things don't really happen on schedule, right exactly on the dot. And so we ended up sitting on the plane for like 20 or 25 minutes, I think, before we even started moving, before pushback, and we started to taxi down to the runway. And I remember we lined up on the runway to take off, and we started going, and just the torque, like you instantly feel the torque of the plane, and it's an amount of torque it's hard to describe. Like, you're just getting forced further and further back in your seat the faster you accelerate. And when we finally lifted off the ground, I remember like feeling like my stomach had dropped, or like my heart had dropped out from under me or something. And like I got really like lightheaded and kind of like vertigo for a second, and then after that, it was smooth sailing. And both my flight to Minnesota and back was actually very smooth. The one coming back, when we arrived back at our home airport, it was storming that night, and it was kind of dark, and so we were a little afraid, but we touched down, no issue. It was a very smooth flight, all things considered. And so yeah, that was my first flight. The trip to Minnesota is definitely a cool one that I remember, especially because while we were there, we got to see the Mall of America, which if anybody is ever in Minneapolis, I highly recommend going to check out the Mall of America, because it is very, very cool, and it is just very difficult to do it justice, just how big this mall is and how many stores there are. I mean, you literally walking through this whole mall, like, you will literally walk forever. There are so many different stores of, all different types, all different clothing, jewelry, there's a big ass Best Buy in there. There's like music stores. It's crazy what all they've got. And then on top of that, as everybody knows, they've got the like amusement park in there with the roller coasters and everything. And I think that was pretty badass, just to see that they fit all of that in one building. Pretty dope. But that was my first flight. Some other trips that stick out was, let's see, I went to Disney World. I know I think I've been 3 times in my life. The first time was way back when I was 5 years old, so that would have been in like 2008. So I barely even remember that. I mean, we have a lot of pictures, and I remember getting my face painted, and I bought this hand drum that is featured on my album. for anybody who wants to hear what it sounds like, it's on there. But the hand drum that's featured on that album that you can kind of hear, I actually purchased back in 2008 as a 5-year old, I think, or rather, I guess my parents bought it for me. But yeah, it was a hand drum, and it sounds pretty cool, and I've had it ever since. But that was the first trip. I don't really remember a lot from that, but the second one is a little more, clear in my mind because I was a little older. I was probably 13, 12 or 13 when we went. And I remember we would get up really early in the morning and we would go to the parks right as they would open so that we could always go and get on the rides that we wanted to ride and avoid the lines. And, for people who haven't been to Disney World before, they've got a fast pass system, which is like you sign up for it before, like you book your trip. And this is Disney World in Florida. I'm not really sure if the process is probably about the same in California with Disneyland, but at least with Florida, you would sign up and book your trip, and you would like get all your dinner reservations, and part of that was signing up and registering for your fast passes. And the fast pass pretty much is what it sounds like. It lets you bypass the line up until like a point. And you have like a specific time that you go, and your fast pass is like valid for, and you go and scan it. You have like these armbands that are like tied to you, like they're like tied to you, so your armband is specifically for you. I don't know how they do it, but like it's got your name and everything, like it's your key for your like your room and everything. It's really crazy how they do it. But you've got the armband, and you just stick it up to the fast pass scanner thing, and you go through. And it was pretty cool, the fact that you get to bypass all the lines. My favorite rides at Disney World, and I want to make it very clear before we go on. I am not a huge roller coaster person or amusement park person for that matter. I really love Disney World though. That's kind of like the exception for me, and I will pretty much ride everything there. But I don't really like roller coasters otherwise. I'm not a huge amusement park fan, and we'll talk a little bit about that here coming up. But as far as Disney World, my favorite rides would have to be Splash Mountain, although unfortunately I've heard that they're changing it or remodeling it, and I'm very disappointed about that. But Splash Mountain is definitely a staple of my childhood, definitely even one I remember from my very first trip to Disney World. Expedition Everest in Animal Kingdom, Space Mountain, and probably Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. All of those are pretty big for me. The Rock and Roller Coaster is pretty cool, but I've only ridden it one time. But other than that, I mean, you can't really go wrong at Disney. All the rides are pretty cool, and the immersion that you experience when you're at Disney World is like second to none. Like you won't find that at any other amusement park that I've been to. I've heard Universal is that way too, so maybe one day I'll go to Universal and try it out. But until then, Disney World definitely holds the top spot for immersion, at least for me and my experience there. Also, the Haunted Mansion is pretty cool as well. If you can't tell, the Magic Kingdom is definitely my favorite park, without a doubt. Not even a competition, really. The Magic Kingdom's just where it's at. But anyway, that kind of transitions us here into the next topic. I know I only talked about 2 vacations, but this video is getting a little bit long. The next topic here is amusement parks. And so amusement parks, like I was talking about, are not something I'm huge on. Definitely had some interesting experiences in the past with amusement parks. And like I said, I'm not a big roller coaster person. And so that automatically, like right off the bat, takes like a majority of the like activity out of an amusement park for me, because I don't really like the huge tall ones that go really fast. I'm not about that. My form of adrenaline rush is, punching the car in first gear and revving it all the way out and spin the tires and all that. That's where I get my adrenaline rush from. Roller coasters are not really my thing. What can I say? But we have a local amusement park here. It's about 20 miles from here that's very, very big. Well known around the country even. And I've been there a few times in my life, probably maybe a handful, 2 handfuls of times. I haven't been a whole bunch. I went with the school a few times as part of the band. Like the concert band was one time we had a performance up there where we would get judged like for the concert performance assessment. But other than that, I haven't really been like a whole bunch in my personal life. And like I'll go and I'll ride like the rides and everything. And so I can't really ride a lot of them, but there are like a few that I'll pick out. Like at the local amusement park, I can think of like 3 or 4 rides that I will ride there out of all of the different roller coasters and rides they've got there. It's just how I am. I'm kind of picky with it. And so amusement parks in general for me aren't quite as amusing, I guess, as you would want them to be. But the amusement parks and the stores and the food is always pretty good. But the prices you pay are just exorbitant, and there's so many different different types of stuff you can get. It's just almost overwhelming the amount of choices you have with the memorabilia and everything you can get, but it's also overpriced and you want to buy it, but you're kind of conflicted because you don't want to spend all your money, and then you spend all your money and it's kind of like, damn, I regret that. So amusement parks in general are just not my thing, and there's just too many people in general like in one spot, and it's always hot and sweaty, and it's not it. Amusement parks are not my thing. And if they are your thing, then by all means go and enjoy it. I'm not trying to shit on your hobby or anything, but in my opinion, amusement parks are just not that amusing. And I will say, like the roller coasters that I ride at amusement parks, and like I said earlier, this doesn't necessarily apply to Disney World because it's kind of like its own experience, but like traditional like amusement parks, like Cedar Point or something like that. This is kind of how my thoughts about them are. Um, but yeah, like I said, like I'll ride some of the rides and then that's it. Like you know, I don't really get to experience the whole entire thing. And I know a lot of people would be like, "Well, just stop being scared and just get on the rides." But like I don't want to do that. Like it's not that I'm even scared. It's just like the thought of going on one of those really tall and fast roller coasters is just not fun to me. Like I feel like I'd be terrified the whole time, and then I'd get off and just never want to do it again. And it's just I know myself pretty well, and I feel like that would not be the right choice to make. Um, but yeah, like going back, kind of these are almost interchangeable topics, but with the vacations and the amusement parks, a lot of people will go. Like over the summer, like summer vacation, they'll go to the amusement parks and everything. Like the one that's fairly close to my town. It's like a big spot for people to go to. And they do like Halloween festival. They've got one going on right now, and I've thought about going, but I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted about it because it's like I'm gonna go, but I'm not gonna ride anything. So it's kind of I almost feel like I'm wasting my money. But I don't know. It would definitely be cool to like go in with a group of friends and kind of hang out and go check that out, the Halloween festival and everything that's going on. But vacation in general. And I remember even going to Florida, there would be like carnivals and like amusement park rides down in Florida where we would go and stay at Longboat Key. Like you could see like there was like a Ferris wheel that I distinctly remember seeing from a carnival, and like there would be like just small like rides and attractions and everything. And it was just really cool, like in Florida, how everything is sort of tied together like that. There are attractions everywhere in Florida, and even though Florida on its own is already like an attraction, so I don't know. I just think that was kind of cool, and amusement parks are definitely like a big part of that. I think like different, like Florida alone has Disney and Universal and SeaWorld. I think is down there, and they've got just all sorts of different amusement parks, and I don't know. It's pretty cool. I think that Florida is attractive on its own because of like the beaches and the like, especially like for me, in general, like the car community there is pretty cool, but it's also got like these amusement parks, and I don't know. I just think it's kind of cool. But my trips to Florida are definitely ones that I remember fondly, and going to the beach and everything. Um, I think that there's always a lot of cool things that can be learned at the beach. Just as far as reflecting and relaxing and I don't know. I see the beach as almost like a very reflective place. Like I don't really go because it's somewhere I like to go necessarily. Like the beach is cool, don't get me wrong, but I would rather go to like a city where there's something to do. There's a city up in North Carolina called Asheville that I really like because there's just so many different things to do there. There's different restaurants and music venues, and I've seen a lot of concerts up there. Maybe that's something I can talk about one day. But Asheville's really cool, and so that's kind of more what is attractive to me for a trip or vacation rather than going to the beach. But the beach is definitely a very reflective and relaxing place. You can definitely kind of have a lot of time with yourself and be very internal, and I think that's a good thing as well. So Anyway, that kind of ties up the amusement park slash vacation sort of combo discussion we had there. And last but not least, we're going to talk about trying new foods and expanding my horizons. And so this is something that's very personal to me because for my whole life, I've pretty much been a very, very picky eater. Have not had very good experiences trying new foods. There's one that distinctly sticks out to me when I was a child where I had to eat a bowl of chili. My parents, you know, were adamant that I at least eat half of this bowl of chili, and I hated it. And I guess they were really just wanting me to genuinely give it a go because, as a kid, I was very much, I would look at something and be like, that just looks nasty, so it's nasty. I'm not going to eat it. I wouldn't really give it a fair shot. And so they wanted me to genuinely try the chili. And I did, and I hated it. And it was like a 2 hour long 3 hour long sort of issue where I was trying not to eat this chili and they wanted me to eat this chili. So since then I haven't eaten chili again. Not really my thing, Now, I don't know. That's northern chili because my dad is actually from or was raised in the north. And so, he puts a bunch of beans and stuff in his chili. And my grandfather told me that traditional southern chili is like beef and ketchup and maybe like a little, seasoning and stuff like that. So maybe I'd be a little more partial to southern chili. But I'm not a huge bean person. And there we go. Yet again, something else I could try. But, my whole life I've been very picky with food. And it's only been recently that I've kind of been trying to expand my horizons a little bit and try some new things. Like just recently I put lettuce on a sandwich for the first time, and some people are going to hear that and be like, what the hell? But yeah, I had never eaten lettuce on a sandwich, and honestly, I don't really like lettuce all that much. It's just too, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the way it tastes. Like I know some people say lettuce doesn't really have a taste. It's more of like a texture, but I don't like the, grassy sort of nature of lettuce. That's not my thing. And so like with sandwiches especially, I typically just do like mayonnaise and meat and cheese and seasoning. And I'm a huge dressing person too. Like I love honey mustard and deli mustard and regular mustard. Mustard especially is just like my favorite dressing. But or like condiment, I guess. But I like ranch, barbecue sauce. I'm a huge like sauce and dressing person. So rather than veggies, I put a lot of sauces and stuff on my stuff, like my sandwiches. But I tried the lettuce. I've thought about trying tomatoes. I've had tomato before, but it's never really been like on a sandwich, so I'm thinking maybe that might be a little better. Onion. I've never had like a baked potato, which I know is kind of crazy to say, but that's something I've been wanting to kind of maybe try. I think I had said onion. Pickle, like cucumber and pickles. We have chopped cucumbers and pickles at work. I've tried the chopped pickles before, and honestly, like I'm not a huge pickle person. Like they're okay, but I'm not a huge fan. It's not something I would just get on my sandwich or like a burger or something. But I've been meaning to try the cucumber because people say the cucumber with the turkey is really good. So I might give that a go and give an update about how I feel about it. But yeah, it's definitely, as I've gotten older, I've definitely wanted to expand my taste a little bit more and eat different things. And yeah, I think that's a very good sort of mentality to have because I've known a lot of picky people, and as you expand your horizons, you kind of start to like more things and you can become healthier that way, and overall it's just like a good choice to make. But yeah, that's kind of my journey with trying new foods and overcoming my pickiness that has been an issue with me my entire life. But with that being said, that will pretty much finish up all the topics for this episode. I hope that y'all enjoyed the content today and enjoyed the episode. It's a little bit longer here, almost 30 minutes. But yeah, I hope this video finds you all in a positive headspace, a positive place in your lives. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day or night or whatever time it may be where you're at. But with that being said, this has been episode 11 of A New Direction. I have been Colin, and I will see y'all next time.